Today, I'm going to show you how to make an amazingly moist and fudgy chocolate cake. Now, I have to admit that this is the best chocolate cake I have ever had. This recipe did take a while to perfect, and after rigorous taste testing from friends and family, I finally arrived at this recipe, which also turns out to be vegan. Now, I must have made this cake at least 20 times. It's great for birthdays and events and bake sales at school, and what's really great is that people seem to really enjoy it, and they always ask me to make this cake when there's a special occasion. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all the dry ingredients into a large bowl. So we're going to sift them in with a sieve. So we have 180 grams of self-raising flour, and 120 grams of cocoa powder. Now this is going to be followed by 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to sift these into the bowl. Now, it's quite important to use a good quality cocoa powder in this cake because this is the main flavour that will be coming through quite strongly. So you want like a cocoa powder with a really chocolatey aroma. So I'm just gonna push the rest of that through. Now I've done these first because I will now be sifting in the sugar. So this is a mixture of light brown and dark brown sugar, as I ran out of light brown sugar the other day, but altogether it weighs 375 grams, which does seem a lot, but remember you are baking a whole cake. And we're just doing this because you don't want any blocks of like solid sugar in your cake, because when it cooks you'll just have like solid lumps which you can break your teeth on, which is not good. So now that I have finally gotten all the sugar through the sieve, which did take a while, I'm just going to put it to one side while I mix the wet ingredients. So we're going to do this in a separate bowl. So first I'm going to take 200 millilitres of oat milk. You can also use soy milk or any type of vegan milk, but I find that oat milk has quite a creamy texture, so it works really well in this cake. And next we're going to add 200 millilitres of sunflower oil. And 180 millilitres of coffee. Like the cocoa powder, it is important to use a nice high quality coffee. So this one's got a really strong aroma and it's like chocolatey, and this just brings out the chocolate flavour in the cake and makes it that bit more decadent. So now I have 3 flax eggs, and I have pre-made these because they do take about 5 to 10 minutes to work, but it's 3 tablespoons, my lizard, it's 3 tablespoons of flax seeds mixed with 9 tablespoons of warm water, and it has formed a paste. So this is your egg replacement, and I have tried making this cake with eggs as well, and it seems to make it quite a bit drier, this just makes it a lot tastier. And finally, we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. It's really sad. I'm almost at the end of the bottle. It won't perfectly mix because the oil will sit on top. And now we are going to add that to the dry ingredients. Just stir in 2 goes so that it's all well mixed. Now, an important thing to note is when you are making this cake and you want it to be vegan, or when you're just baking in general, vegan recipes, that not all sugar is vegan. So white sugar, you have to check to make sure it's vegan, because a lot of the time they use animal bones to give it that white colour. So just make sure it's well mixed together, and it should look like this. Okay, so I have preheated the oven to 180 degrees, and I'm going to fill the 2 cake pans now. So I've put some baking parchment at the bottom, and we're just gonna equally fill them with the cake mix. Smells so good. Now, I know some people like to lick the spoon, and if you have kids who like to do that, or you like to do that yourself, this mixture is very tasty. Just be aware that this does have flour in it, and you can get ill if you eat raw flour that hasn't been cooked. However, it is a lot safer than other conventional baking recipes, which will have eggs in, and sometimes eggs can make you ill by carrying salmonella and stuff. You bake these for 25 minutes in the oven, and then I'll let them cool. And in the meantime, I will make the frosting to go in between the 2 layers. So now we are going to make the icing. So first I'm going to put 200 grams of icing sugar to the bowl. Just going to sift that to get out any lumps. We are going to add 200 grams of margarine, and as usual I have used flour, and we're going to just cream that together. Ideally use a bigger spoon. So a lot of the time I have leftover icing when I make this recipe, which is fine, because what I do is I put it in a jar and freeze it, and it freezes really well. So there we have the creamed margarine and sugar. It's like a smooth mixture. So next, it's quite a hot bowl. I've melted 100 grams of chocolate in the microwave. So this is vegan chocolate. It's a mixture of 75 and 85% dark chocolate. It just depends what flavour you're looking for. If you go with a higher percentage, then it's going to be slightly more bitter. So when you're melting chocolate in the microwave, make sure you check it every 10 seconds or so and give it a stir with the spoon, because it's very easy to burn it. Like, this chocolate almost burnt in the microwave, which would have been horrendous, because you don't want to waste chocolate because it's so tasty. It is going to go quite liquidy, your icing. Now, this is why we're making it while the cake's in the oven. So by the time the cake has cooled, your icing will be more solid as opposed to very runny. Now that the cake has cooled, we're going to put the icing between the two layers. So this icing has stayed quite runny just because it's really warm in here today. Ideally, you'd want to put a tablespoon of vanilla extract into it. However, as I am running out of that, I thought I should save it. It's kind of like a mousse. So we're just going to spoon a few tablespoons onto this cake. Use a knife to spread it out. Don't spread it right up to the edges because it will move out when you put the last layer on top. There we go. And peel. Okay, so to decorate, I usually sieve some icing sugar over the top just to give it a nice covering, and then I decorate it with fruit and mint leaves. Now if you're using fruit, I use like whole fruits like strawberries and blueberries and raspberries, because these will tend to not go mushy as quickly and make your cake soggy. And remember to look in the description for the recipe notes, and I hope you enjoy.